Hey everyone, Tanner here, and welcome to a video that I know a lot of you guys have been patiently waiting for. Today, we're going to put my crested geckos into their new bioactive DIY enclosures. That said, if you remember, I made these custom plywood enclosures in case you missed that build for whatever reason, or if you're new to the channel, I'll leave it linked up here or down in the video description so you can learn how to make one of these for yourself. I have a pretty in-depth video about all of that, and I also did videos on each of the setups here. So I have two crested geckos, each one of them is getting one of these enclosures, and I did a build video for each. So either follow the cards up here or check out the video description if you want to see all of those videos. I know that most of you guys are here just to see the crested geckos go into their new vivariums, but there's something that happened a few weeks ago because of you guys, and I really want to thank you, so let me show you something real quick. It's super cool, right? As I always say, guys, none of this would be possible without each and every one of you guys continually watching my content, sharing it, liking it, all of that good stuff. So I truly do appreciate you guys because this is something I've been working on for a really long time, and it's all coming to fruition now thanks to each and every one of you guys. So I could put in all of the hard work in the world and make the craziest setups, but if no one's watching, then none of this would be going on right now. So truly, I thank you guys. But let's get on to the crested geckos. Before we can get the crested geckos into their new vivariums, there's a few things that we gotta do real quick. First, I want to make some more jungle vines. I just feel that I didn't have enough climbing places originally, so what I'm doing is making some custom jungle vines. Making jungle vines is super simple. All that you gotta do is get some cotton rope, cover it in silicone, and then coat the silicone in cocoa fiber and let it cure for a good 24 hours. And all that I'm doing here is just gluing it into the enclosure using some super glue, cyanoacrylate super glue to be more specific, but that's non-toxic to animals once it's cured and everything, so it's totally safe to use with the crested geckos. You just gotta make sure that you allow for the proper dry time. Now we gotta address something that I actually meant to do in the original build video, but I totally forgot, and then when I was in post-production, I'm like, I guess I'll just do that in this video. So what we're gonna do is get a little dish that I put the food in, cover it in some expanding foam, and then carve out the expanding foam to make a dish that we can actually glue to the background of the enclosure, so that way it actually looks naturalistic like the rest of the enclosure. And essentially I'm using the same technique that I would do to make my backgrounds just on this little dish here. And then of course after I finished making it, I just super glued it onto the background like so. Now that I touched up the enclosures a little bit, I'll show you a before and after of the plant growth. Here's how it looked whenever I first set it up, and then here's how it looks now. It's quite a difference, right? A lot of that is new plant growth, but I also did add some additional plants just because I wanted these to be really jungle-like. The crested geckos like a ton of cover. They like a lot of plants, and I think oftentimes in the hobby we don't necessarily provide enough cover to what they like, but I know for sure that my crested geckos like cover, so I really tried to pull that off in these vivariums. Next up, we're going to mix up a little bit of Pangea. My crested geckos love it. They eat it all the time, and I'm just going to set it right into their new dishes. So the first one going in is Henry here. This is actually the first crested gecko that I ever got, and he's a little bit skittish. He does not like being handled that much. I've definitely got to sort of socialize him a little bit more. But anyways, I've had him for about 4 years now. He was a bit of an adoption pet. One of my friends, his family had it, and I guess they didn't really know how to take care of it or didn't want it. Maybe they got it and decided they didn't want it. But basically, he asked me, do you want this gecko? And I'm like, sure. I didn't really know that much about crested geckos at the time, but I took him on, and I liked him ever since. And that's actually why I got the other crested gecko, but let's put him on in. Next up we have my big girl Delilah here, and I say big girl because not too long ago she was a little baby crested gecko and she grew up so fast. A lot faster than Henry did, but she's looking really good, eating really well. She's a lot less skittish than Henry is overall. Like, she definitely enjoys eating more than he does and being handled more. So I'd say overall she is definitely an easier gecko. I'm not really sure what his condition was like before I had him, and he's always kind of been that way, so I just feel like that's his temperament. But with her, she's pretty easygoing, as you can see. Grew really fast and is doing really well, so why don't we put her on into her new home? Now that we've got the geckos in their new homes, we're just going to let them hang out for a few days and then we'll revisit them later on. As you can see, they pretty much haven't moved at all because they're unsure of their new environment. They're not really used to what's going on, and they're probably a little bit nervous of predators and that sort of thing. So we're just going to let them hang out for a few days and then we'll see what's going on in a day or two. So I'm extremely content to finally have my crested geckos in these enclosures. I put it off for so long because I really wanted the plants to grow in so that way the geckos really felt comfortable in there. And I also wanted the plants to become established so that the geckos didn't ruin them once they went into the enclosures. And I'm very glad that I waited because the geckos really seem to enjoy them. And I actually thought it would take a few days for them both to acclimate, but I would say within a few hours Henry was exploring it and honestly seemed like he was content in there. Now Delilah, I think she still is acclimating to it. She's a little bit unsure of her environment. She seems slightly skittish, like she gets kind of spooked out easier than she typically would. But that's totally understandable. She's not used to this environment. It's totally new to her. But I think in time she's definitely going to open up to it and really just return back to her former self. As you would expect with crested geckos being nocturnal, I mainly see them at night, especially Delilah. She really doesn't show up in the middle of the day, but Henry, he's usually out basking in the day for a good portion of it at least. But whenever they're not visible, I pretty much can't find them. It's really hard to locate them just because of how densely planted it is, and I think that's a good thing because they feel secure. They can hide away, nothing can see them, and they can just sleep during the day, come out at night, or do whatever they please. Something else I should mention real quick is that you'll notice that Henry is kind of pale. There's two factors at play here. Number one, he's deep in shed right now, so he's just about to shed, and then once he does, his colors will lighten up a little bit. But also, he usually is kind of pale like this. It's very rare that he's fired up, and normally when I show him on camera, he is fired up, but it just so happens that right now, he's not fired up. But Delilah, on the other hand, she's fired up probably about 90% of the time. It's very rare that she's not. And you'll notice that in all of the clips here, she's pretty vibrantly colored. And I'm not sure if it's a genetic thing or what, but it's just very rare for him and very frequent for her. And that was actually one of the reasons that I got her. She's a very appealing looking gecko. It's not that Henry isn't, it's just that his colors are not nearly as vibrant as hers. I think that's about enough of an update for the crested geckos. They're definitely enjoying their new homes. I'm very glad that I finally got them into there, and it's a lot easier for me because instead of maintaining 4 enclosures, I only have to maintain 2, because if you figure, I had to take care of these vivariums and then I also had to take care of both of their vivariums, so 4 down to 2, that's a good thing. But if you remember, I just put the terrarium in an aquarium not too long ago. I actually got some inhabitants for there, and we'll talk about that here right now. To take a quick look at this, overall it's doing pretty well. All of the plants are growing in and starting to fill in the space nicely, but being a new aquarium, it's not quite at that equilibrium yet, so we're getting a slight algae issue. Not to worry, I've been doing bigger and more frequent water changes. That seemed to help tremendously, and I also cut back the photo period by 2 hours, and pretty much most of the algae is gone. There's some remnants of string algae on a few of the plants, and to combat that, I decided to get 3 Amano shrimp, and that's what's temperature acclimating in the bag on the top here. I've been wanting to get Amano shrimp for a really long time. They're not a flashy shrimp in terms of colors or anything like that, but I do think they're a very interesting looking shrimp and a very interesting acting shrimp. It's just so cool to watch them clean around the aquarium and everything, and they're perfect for cleaning up algae. So I think they're going to do the trick, and they are a good addition to this aquarium. And that's about all I got for you guys this week. Unfortunately, I had to cut it short because I got a ton of stuff going on in my personal life right now, and that's all going to carry on over into my projects and everything. So big things coming. You'll see more about that in the future, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, I appreciate you, and I thank you for watching. If you liked the video, hit it with a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, you like seeing stuff like this, you want to see future updates on all of my projects, animals, everything like that, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future uploads. I upload every Saturday morning right now. In time I'll make it more frequent, but right now it's every Saturday morning. So if you don't hit the bell, at least know that the video is coming out on Saturday. Anyways, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.